And the first order of business is to approve the agenda. We've all gotten the agenda in advance. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda. And we have a very interesting first item, and that is staff report. We have the true city manager here to talk about a potential relocation of the George's Ballroom sign. So hearing no objections, city manager?
All right. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This is a request from SHPO that we have to make every attempt to save the George's Ballroom sign, the marquee that's there, and the developer is going to try and make every attempt to put it on site. I don't know if it'll necessarily be incorporated in the facade of the building, but at least on site to denote that George's was there, have an interpretive sign. But in the off chance that just doesn't happen, they don't have space for it, it just doesn't fit with the design of the building, we have to make an attempt to find another location. And so going through a lot of places in the city, I looked at the Music Hall of Fame, kind of what we did with the Prince I'm going to go statue that's out there. This would actually be a good location for the George's Ballroom, given its history with New Ulm and music. And so looking at how the building is situated, potential location would be on the first north side in that little indentation that's there right next to the building. And I think it's a good location, close proximity to the George's, to George's itself, kind of ties in people that are going to go, at the new development, come over to the Music Hall of Fame, kind of a little more attendance in that area. And I think it would be a good place in SHPO's mind to have it in that close proximity.
Why don't you just tell us what you mean when you say SHPO?
Okay, State Historical Preservation Office. And so looking at just seeing if you potentially would be okay having it next to or on that location at the Music Hall of Fame. If not, we would try and look at some other places. If we can't find a suitable location, in our mitigation strategy to the state, we had, if we can't find an additional location, then the sign would potentially be auctioned off or disposed of, and there would be an interpretive panel inside the actual new development. And I have a couple ideas for some oral history presentations and stuff like that we're going to record to have as part of that interpretive panel that would be in the development.
I know several of our members have questions or comments, so I'll open that up.
What other locations were explored?
I have looked other city facilities. So I was looking more on the public facility side of things. So we wouldn't have to, the current owner of this property wants it now, but the new owner doesn't want it, and we have to figure out where to put it at that point. I was potentially thinking maybe the fairgrounds might be a good location for it, but again, I think that's just too far from George's. I even thought, well, let's throw it right next to City Hall, in that close proximity, but it just didn't work out. I don't want to throw it in a random park, again, you look at what we've done down at German Park, again, close proximity, but we don't need another monument or something in that park. So I think just the Music Hall of Fame kind of just fit, the essence of what George's is. I think is something that the state would buy into if it doesn't remain on that property.
The plan would be to have it somehow stabilized on some kind of base, not
Yep.
attached to the building.
No, it would be kind of same thing with the Prince statue, have its own base and then be stabilized in that way. However, it would need to be stabilized, and that would be on the city's expense to have an engineer that and put that together. So again, this is primarily, is it okay if it's there? And then we would have to see if it's even feasible to have that sign freestanding and not on a structure or something like that. So that would be on the city's end to figure that portion out.
Has there been any discussion about what it would cost to renovate it? It's not in good condition right now.
I always look at what it costs to fix the Shell sign out over there, and I would say it's probably somewhere in that same ballpark.
Which is?
I think that was about $1 million or so to get that sign up in working order. So I'd figure somewhere in that ballpark potentially, because none of those lights work anymore. All new lighting, wiring, things like that.
How much did you say?
The Shell sign, I think, was about $1 million. So I would say we'd probably be in that 500 to about $1 million to get that sign fixed, up and running, and everything like that, because it's a huge sign with a lot of inner workings.
And how long ago was that?
I can't remember when they
It doesn't
redid
have-
that.
It wasn't 15 years or.
No.
It's relatively recent.
Where would the resources come to undertake that?
So we as a city would have to, well, the developer would probably take it down as part of, their deconstruction of George's. So then it would just be the transportation to whatever site, the engineering cost to engineer that, and then just the construction of whatever we would need to do, and that would all fall on the city to do that.
There is the part of the sign that says George's,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the part that says bar and the part that says ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
Is this for all of those pieces?
It would just be for the major sign that says George's, and then the bottom, which I think says, I
Bar.
think that's the bar. Yeah,
Yes.
would be the bar one. That's the one that the state wants us to preserve.
A concern I have is that that building is a nice example of an Art Deco building, and we have very few examples in New Ulm. And I just feel a little concerned about that sign detracting from the building.
Or you mean the old library site
Yes.
is an Art Deco site?
Yes.
And I would agree with that, and that's kind of the, the reasoning to see if it would even be feasible, if you would like it there. Because again, it starts getting crowded. You have, the Wannagog, you have the Prince, Music Hall of Fame, library sign, and then this other gigantic sign that's going to be pretty much the size of the building.
At the same point, it's all part of the history, though,
Yeah.
in New Ulm, so.
I have a question. If you're not moving the ballroom part of that sign, how does that work in with the Music Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's again, while it's all connected, the ballroom does make more sense, but I think the state is really looking at the George's kind of that's what they really want. That's the iconic sign. All the photos are of that one. If feasible, if the state would be okay with it, we can swap out the bar, the bottom portion, and have that portion there. But again, I don't know how they're interconnected. If they are physically connected together, then that wouldn't be an option.
I just find it, I wonder how odd it would look to have just a bar sign sitting in the middle of, the old library.
Outside of the children's room.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and.
But there would be an interpretive, that interpretive panel next to the sign to say what the significance would be. It wouldn't just be, the out of context, what is the sign doing here?
As you drive by.
Yes.
It's going to bar,
Yeah.
To me, that would be in poor taste, just to have bar there. If you were gonna have bar and ballroom there, I
Yep.
swallow it a little easier, but if you're gonna have to have one or the other, it would just be, for me, for ballroom,
Okay.
in that location.
And tell us what you can about the developer and what the developer has in mind. How likely is it that this relocation of the of the George's Ballroom signage is going to occur?
So as of right now, it is looking at, developers looking at doing a mixed use development. So some retail, and then apartments above. I would say you're probably looking at a 30% chance that a second location, the offsite would be what they would be looking at. They have a preliminary design, but that will probably most likely change. But they're looking, maybe it's something they put in the parking lot, on the alley side of the street, in there. So they are looking at ways to incorporate it into I wouldn't say into the building, but into the site itself. They're just not sure if they can do it or how they can do it. But, again, they haven't even really gone into, let's go, the drawing phase of their
Will the
plans at
building
this time.
itself be demolished?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that building will come down.
Right.
Chris, I don't know the height of the sign. Would it fit inside the Music Hall of Fame?
No, that will
Wish
not
got
fit
rid
in
of the
there.
children's room. No, it's
Yeah,
a
it
big
is a
sign.
huge sign.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're looking at, when it's all said and done, that building will be gone. Be down to basically dirt, and they'll rebuild on top of that fresh lot out there.
What timeline are we on for making a decision? Is this just an informational conversation today, or?
I wouldn't say there's a timeline, but I would like to have it as part of our mitigation strategy, because we can't tear down George's until the state approves our mitigation strategy. So I was looking, more as, you don't have to make a firm decision, because I have written in there currently as a potential backup site, so they can at least see, hey, this is kind of where the sign is going. So again, you are more than welcome at any point in time say, no, we don't want it here, because the way I've written is it's a potential, second site. It's not tying you into anything. But I just kind of wanted to have that discussion so you can think about it. You don't have to make a decision today, but I will be submitting our mitigation strategy to the state hopefully next week. They take about 30 to 45 days to approve the plan, and I know the developer would like to at least start getting that mitigation stuff taken care of, so they can hopefully start next spring with some type of development.
And to be clear for myself, the developer there's a 30% chance that they'll integrate it into the building?
No, that they would look at a
So
second
it's
site.
It's a 70% chance that they will, okay.
Yeah, yep.
And if it moved here, does it start the responsibility off of them once they we're paying for the transportation and the maintenance of it?
Yeah,
and the
so that would all fall on the city
And-
to maintain and do those,
and
do
insurance for
that
the
stuff.
future?
Yep, that would fall on the city at that point, because we would take technically ownership of it and have it there.
Okay.
Does the move, if it were to move to the location up by the museum, would that necessitate, as part of the overall project, spending them up to $1 million to get the lights working again? Or could you move it up there and just put it in as is?
We would put it in as is. We wouldn't, there's no requirement by the state to get it in any working order. Even the developer probably wouldn't look at getting it in working order, just having it there with the interpretive sign saying, this is where George's was, this is what it, what it meant to the city and the stuff that happened there. It's more just preserving the sign so it doesn't end up in a landfill or something like that.
What other departments or agencies within the city are involved in the decision-making process?
For demo of the building, moving.
Is it the city council? Is it the EDA? Is it?
So the demo of the building, there's a Georgia steering committee, has the Brown County Historical Society as part of it. The county, the city, all have kind of come together to see what that looks like. Working closely with the State Historical Preservation Office. But ultimately, council would make that final, or so the process is council, steering committee makes the recommendation, council approves that recommendation, and then asks the county to finalize that recommendation, because technically the county is in, because it is a tax forfeited property at this point, they are in charge of that property. Once the sale happens, then it reverts to a private owner, and then the city will be the ultimate, decision maker. But as long as George's is concerned, they were still always kind of be that Georgia steering committee, city, county kind of hierarchy, which is a good partnership at this point.
Good.
Is the plan that it would need to go immediately from the George's building to its future site? If there was a need for it to be in storage for a period of time?
I
Could
think
that
that
happen, or-
I think that would be fine. We can explain like, hey, we were doing the engineering, getting the contractors lined up. I think having it offsite somewhere stored is absolutely fine until we can get it up. Because again, safety, all of those things, make sure it doesn't fall, those type of things. Because when we go through the engineering process, if it's not on site, we go through that process, and engineers like, no, it's not going to work. It has to be attached to a building. Then that kind of negates everything we want to do, and that's a conversation we would have with the State Historical Society. It's like, we don't want to attach it to a building. Here's the engineering report that says it has to go this route, and then we'll let the state make that decision if we can auction it off, or sell it, or off to to a
Interesting.
landfill it would go. So.
Interesting, and I suspect that the original plans are not available. That was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke. We have the city manager here. Anybody else have any questions or comments or things that we feel like we have to get out on the table here? We don't have to make a decision.
No.
We don't have to make a decision.
It seems like it would almost need to have some sort of wall of the appropriate height built to hang
Wall
from.
or steel beam or something, because it does have that, I'm going to call it a tail, but at the very top it has that kick out that attaches. So I'm assuming when you have it, you'll have to anchor it somehow on the ground, and then have some type of steel beam or something going up the side to support that is what I'm assuming at this point.
Engineers. Anybody else?
I guess just echoing Yvonne's thought, that was mine coming into it. There's a lot of opinions on it, but it's a beautiful structure already the way it is too. And seeing the sign with bar on it that's right next to a library, is that off-putting in any way to outside people or people who are newer to the community that maybe don't have a tie to George's Ballroom?
Yeah.
That was just the one concern that I had coming into the meeting today. But
No.
it's important to check all options. And,
Yep.
Well, and just people driving through town.
right.
Turn right at George's.
Our sign, is it going to overshadow the Music Hall of Fame? Because you won't be able to, people aren't going to look at that sign. They're going to look at this huge George's sign, or the library sign, or,
And that'll all be part of it.
Yeah,
I
valid.
mean, if we have an engineering report, it won't be as high as Herman,
Yep.
We'll build a pedestal.
That's a different problem.
Certainly is worthy of being saved.
Yes.
It's so cool and a neat part of our history. I'm a member of the Downtown Action Team, and as we brainstorm and have discussions, different things that have been talked about would be an art park. It would be great item for an art park. Or if it could be done in conjunction with a mural. that would be, that I think would be just really cool if there could be a mural of George's and then the sign there as a
Yeah.
living artifact. Yeah. So.
Oh, appreciate it.
Okay.
You know, so again, I guess, are you okay with me having potential at the Music Hall of Fame as a potential site? I guess would be kind of, I guess the only decision I would ask is that even okay that that language exists at this point in time?
Well, just speaking for myself, the Georgia sign is worthy of being saved.
Yep.
And I don't think, I think moving it to city property is the logical thing to do. I think the city will, or has in the past, always found a way to preserve those sorts of things. So I'd really not like it to be auctioned off to, you know, some hotel someplace, you know.
Somebody who wants to have a bar named
So I mean,
George's, yeah.
so that's where I would start my consideration, which is it should be saved. The city probably is the most likely agency to, most likely entity to save it and preserve it. So it should go on city property. Those are my thoughts.
Who is the owner of the space next to the Journal where they took down that building? Is that private or city?
That right now is state-owned, and the county's gonna auction that off
Went through a
fairly soon.
foreclosure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm not opposed to having it listed as a potential option for the city to place the sign there, but I think it's certainly before it was finalized in any way that we would have additional discussions.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly don't want to, I certainly don't want to do anything that holds up this
No.
process that
No.
really sadly needs to happen.
Yeah.
I agree with everybody on the, on the concerns, but being funny, saying bar, I mean, it is a Germantown. So, I mean, it's not like people are gonna be like,
There are no plans to have a bar in the new in the new real estate.
Yeah.
In their retail
I don't think so.
plans.
Not at this point, no.
Well,
Maybe they could think about that.
maybe they could. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll let Chris get back to work.
April, did you have any
Yes.
interest or concern?
I agree with the point about having the bar sign out of the size of the children's room is a concern for me, but I do agree with the historical value of George's, and I would hate to blockade moving forward with the project to make use of that area in town.
All right.
Good.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. We'll go on. We have to approve the minutes from our last meeting. We have those in our packets. Could I have a motion?
So move?
Second?
second,
Any comments or questions? Any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Good, we have minutes. Financial report, April.
We are 68.49% through 2023, and our budget is approximately 61.1% expended. Some of the bills we paid during August included $1,445 to the Minnesota Historical Society for microfilm of the 2019 and 2020 years of the New Ulm Journal, and that was paid with a Friends donation, Friends of the Library. $405 to the University of Minnesota to purchase library cards. That came from office supplies. $728 to Hilliard for paper and cleaning supplies from General Supplies. And then $500 to the Minnesota Library Association for conference registration fees for myself and Leroy Harris, our programming and technology services librarian, to attend the Minnesota Library Association conference. and $625 to the Association for Rural and Small Libraries so that Megan Kitterman, our Assistant Director, can attend that conference. And we paid for those fees through honorariums from the Traverse des Sioux Regional Library. And then we also had $790 to Expedia for hotel costs for Megan to attend the ARSL conference. And that did come from the Travel Conferences and Schools line. So we'll be able to cover the costs of those expenses between the honorariums and our Travel Conferences and Schools lines. And then the Friends have agreed to fund the difference, which is approximately $300.
Great.
And then I just wanted to note in the budget report, the Travel Conferences and School line appears overspent. It's not actually overspent. The line is currently spent at about 35%. When we code those grants and honorariums, they go to a different budget line. So that's why that looks that way. And then our printing, advertising, and promo line is overspent because we paid for ads to advertise the library aid and page positions that were open. We did budget to increase that line from $500 to $1,000 for 2024 to better accommodate those expenses.
Thank you, April. Anyone else have anything that they want to ask about or lift up to the group? Otherwise, we can move on to the August 2023 Library Department Activities Report and our statistics.
We hosted a booth at the Brown County Fair August 9th through 13th. We shared information about our resources, made some connections with other community organizations, and then we also helped our visitors make button pins with different kids' characters. We estimate that we met around 200 people and made about 150 buttons. As we look at the fair as a potential outreach opportunity next year, we think that our time would be better spent focusing on, the Kids' Day or maybe part of the Senior Day rather than staffing a booth for 5 days. That was difficult to schedule.
Okay, this was the first time you've been out there for a long
Yes.
time. Right?
Yes.
Good.
We had Nuvera at the library on August 25th and 28th. They added 3 data ports to our main building, one in the Fred Johnson room, one in the young adult area, and then one at the self-checkout station. So those will offer more flexibility on how we can use those spaces, what technology we can have there, and then also improve the performance of the self-checkout station. The Traverse des Sioux Regional Library applied for E-rate funding for the project and took care of all the bidding and reporting that was needed for that. So there was no cost to the New Ulm Public Library for the project. We have a new library page. Megan Gratham joined the library on August 28th, so we're very glad to have her. And our youth services aide, Jerry Grebner, resigned. Her last day is Saturday the 16th, so we'll be looking for a new youth services aide once we're able to post that position. Carl Construction replaced the curb on the south side of our parking lot on August 29th and 30th. We removed that curb last winter when there was work on the steam line that runs under the lot. So it's good to have that cleaned up again. And then I attended the August 28th Brown County Commissioners Budget Appropriation Session with the Brown County Library Board and library directors from the Sleepy Eye and Springfield libraries. Several community members and board members, including Carl and Yvonne, attended that meeting in support of our request. We requested an increase of $5,000 in the county's 2024 library support, and the commissioners were in favor of that 3-2. 2 of the commissioners were in favor of increasing the support by $3,500 instead of $5,000. Carl or Yvonne, I don't know if you have anything additional you'd like to say about that.
The only thing I would add to April's report is that it's always encouraging to see the number of people that come out for that meeting in support of our county library systems, libraries themselves, and good to have full attendance in that room.
And I think the commissioners were quite impressed with some of the library statistics, just how many people use the library and participate in the activities. I think there was some education done that people, the commissioners didn't really fully realize how much happens at our county libraries.
Good, thank you, thank you, Yvonne, thank you, Carl.
We have carpet replacement scheduled for September 25th through 29th in our nonfiction floor. Just to note, that area of the library will be closed while the work happens to both patrons and staff, but we'll fill any requests after they're completed with that work. And then the Traverse des Sioux Regional Library has been in the process of searching for a new director. Carl sits on the TDS board on behalf of Brown County. So Carl, I didn't know if you wanted to give an update on that process.
Sure. As part of my membership on the board, I also serve on the Personnel Committee, and we just completed final interviews and have made an offer of employment to one of the candidates pending approval by the full TDS board, which will occur next Thursday. So until that gets finalized, I'm reluctant to disclose the candidate, but I think you'll all get a chance to meet the new executive director once that final vote is taken and hiring is complete. They start their employment with us. But I think the committee is very pleased with the candidates and their quality and experience in education, and I think we're just delighted to have the four terrific candidates.
Great, it sounds wonderful, thank you.
I wanted to note in our statistics that the YouTube statistics for August were surprising. We had 10,500 views. One of our programming videos went viral in Vietnam. About 70% of our views in August originated in Vietnam because someone there added our video to a playlist on their page and then shared it. So that video was suggested to people over 400,000 times. Wow. So, and then it starts to suggest other of our videos to those individuals. So it's a trend we could see continue.
So what was the video? I must have missed it.
Oh, do you remember which one it was? I think it was one of our story times.
Oh, fun.
I think,
oh, fun.
but I'm not
Nice,
positive.
Nice, oh, that's fun. That's a lot of
And now
fun.
you can say you're international.
That's right.
So about 30% of the views still came from us, so that's still more than 3,000 views locally. But
As an aside, I have seen several of the Don't Forget to Read the Instructions videos, and I just have to say the staff is exemplary in their sportsmanship behavior. It's like, where was this when I was teaching? It's really informative, and I wouldn't mind playing one or two of those games that I've seen. So anyway, thank you to your staff and yourself. You were in one of them. So
She plays.
yes.
well, but and then I also wanted to note that our Libby circulation, our digital materials, continues to trend about 20 to 25% over last year. So our physical circulation is pretty steady, but Libby just continues to increase. So, you know, in future years, we'll be looking at how to budget for that. That's something that all the member libraries and TDS are very aware of as we you know, look at how to support that regionally as well, since that is a shared collection.
Right.
And then last month there was an issue with the website page reviews not reporting correctly. That's resolved. The July stats have been corrected. In August we're back to where we would expect. And I'm just continuing to look into why the wireless stats are so different after that gap. And I've been working with the IT department to try and figure that out.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to programming.
The Friends of the St. Paul Public Library, acting as the Minnesota Center for the Book, will present an author event as part of their Moving Words series. which is a tour of the Minnesota Book Award winners and finalists. So we'll have authors Antonia Angris, Daniel Bernstrom, and Will McGrath reading and offering discussion at the library on Friday, October 13th at 3 p.m. So we invite everyone to join us for that. And then we'll have WCCO meteorologist Mike Lynch here to watch the solar eclipse on Saturday, October 14th at 10:30 a.m. And that will be in Highland Park, so that we have good visibility there. And we'll watch the eclipse, and he'll also do a presentation. If the weather doesn't cooperate, we'll move the presentation to the library's meeting room. And those who attend the event will be able to grab a pair of eclipse glasses. We have some of those that we received as part of a grant through StarNet. So we're excited for that presentation. And then we have Minnesota author and New Ulm native Julie Jo Larson, who will be at the library on Friday, October 20th at 3 p.m. And she'll be discussing her new book, 100 Things to Do in Minnesota Before You Die. So she has been wandering throughout Minnesota for 3 decades. So she'll talk about her book, her travels, and her experiences in Minnesota.
Great. Great. Anyone else have something they want to lift up? I wonder and wander. That's cute. Yeah. I wonder and wander. All right. Strategic Planning Committee update. I know that, well, I failed in my duties. I had a medical situation I had to deal with, and I didn't show up. So, so tell us what happened. I know you talk about it.
Sure. So we met on Monday the 11th, and we were missing 3 committee members, including two of our community members. And so it was a majority of staff at that meeting. And so while we did formulate some rough goals with the committee members that were there, we're not ready to present those because we don't want to exclude the voices of those who missed that meeting. So we are planning to meet again we're not waiting a month this time. The next meeting we're scheduled for is Monday, September 25th at 2 p.m. To keep our momentum with working on those goals. And as we finalize those goals, we'll start looking at the objectives. And then the plan after that is once we have those finalized and kind of tentative approval from the board to move forward, we'll have the library staff work on writing the activities under that.
I do feel like we did have a power hour, though, for what
Yes.
we did. We did a lot, and then we just kind of had to call it just to, me and this mic. Kind of just had to call it to, make sure what April said, that everybody was included.
Power
making the
hour.
final. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Thank you. Well, we'll be there on the 25th. Good.
Yep.
Any other business? Any other business of any kind? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Or can I just?
I think
All
you
right,
can do it.
I'll gavel it. We're done. I adjourn. Goodbye.